Welcome to Who's Thinking Different. Today I'm joined by Peter Wheatley of Metrocan Construction. We're going to talk about his team's tower waterproofing innovation. Peter, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome.
So I'm excited to talk to you about innovation, but before we dive into your innovation, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
So I'm a senior project manager with Metrocan Construction. I'm currently working on a project in Burnaby, British Columbia, which is about a 42-story residential tower. It's also got some commercial spaces on the lower 6 floors or 7 floors. So I work on site every day with my team, 2 superintendents, and have another project manager working alongside me, as well as a team of laborers and carpenters that push us forward every day to completion. So we're looking to wrap up this project around the end of April, maybe beginning of May. And so we're pushing hard towards the end for our big occupancy date.
So needless to say, you're pretty fully engaged with the everyday of what's going on site.
For sure, yeah. It's, I've had other roles before where I've been more situated in an office environment, but this one works out a lot better to be on site with the team every day, dealing with issues as they arise, and then being able to walk up and see stuff as problems surface that we need to solve, and then I can work together with the team closely to get them taken care of.
Well, speaking of problem solving, you guys really came up with a gem of an innovation. Tell me, what it is and how it came about.
Sure. Tower construction in general has always had unique challenges, and as the towers get taller, one of the biggest challenges that we have, especially in BC and Vancouver, where we're pretty much in a rainforest here, is how do you start finishing suites on the lower parts of the tower while you still don't have a roof at the top? So the taller the tower, the more and longer exposure you'll have to the weather. So we have usually we're starting to finish suites somewhere around 10 or 12 stories below the very top of the slab or the top of the roof, and that is, you're adding a new level. Usually every week we're adding a new floor of structure. So when we get into our rainy season, we can have rain for a month at a time, and we've got a lot of water to divert out of the tower so that it doesn't trickle its way all the way down into the finished suites where we have drywall and other finishes. So lots of different places and different companies use different strategies to keep the water out. And we developed one that we spent some time with the team just to try to figure out where the greatest weaknesses were. And then we came up with kind of a multi-level approach to addressing the water as it came in at first. And then as we worked down through 4 or 5 floors, the idea was, and the goal was to get the floors completely dry by the 5th or the 6th floor and not have that concern of it trickling down into the finished suites at all. So what the biggest challenges that we have in this type of construction is there's cast iron pipes that penetrate through every slab all the way up to the top of the building. And so those pipes are the easiest path of travel for water to migrate down into the finished areas. So what we came up with was a way to seal, to start by diverting as much water as we could out of the upper levels. We used a system of buckets and pipes, which are quite common in high-rise construction. But then as we got through a few more floors below that area of initial diversion, we focused more on the clusters of cast iron pipes and how to seal those just from any water that might actually get through. And so our team started with a couple of different ideas. We quickly eliminated some of them because we had tried them and they weren't turning out to be as effective as we had thought. But then we ended up with an idea to group the pipes. The pipes are naturally grouped together through different passages in maybe 7 or 8 different locations throughout the slab. So we used a poly system to tape using tuck tape, which is very good in wet conditions, seal around the pipes to a poly, create a tent down to a curb that was sealed to the floor using caulking that could easily be removed later. So it turned out to be a very robust and easy to assemble system. we kept one particular person on the task throughout the tower so that that design could be repeated successfully. And then he just had to recruit 1 or 2 laborers to help him out in building those things as we moved up floor by floor.
And then, tell me about the impact. So, obviously water, when you guys are on the lower mainland there, and like you said, you can get a rainy season that I'm sure feels like it never ends. But, what can the impact of not managing that water be?
Well, it's I've had lots of sites in the past where that Monday morning after a weekend of rain was a very stressful time. So, first thing, especially in the dark days of winter, we've got guys scrambling through the building trying to vacuum up water, keep it from getting any further. There would often be a couple of suites that water reached, and then you got drywall in there that's all been soaked with water, and you have no choice but to cut it out. Otherwise, it'll turn into a moldy mess. So it would be a huge amount of impact labor-wise, first of all, because you'd have to throw, a dozen people at the problem to stop the water from progressing down, but then also very stressful for the rest of the team. And to go back and repair stuff is very costly to do. It's all been installed, and you don't want to have to go back and redo that type of work. So the costs are the big thing, not only from a labor perspective and the number of people required to battle the water, but also from the or replacement of finished work. And so those kind of costs just, have to be absorbed generally by the general contractor, and it's nobody else's responsibility but ours. So it made sense to come up with a system, even if it took a little bit more time for a couple of people to install. If it stood up to the worst weather that we had, then it paid off in the long term by a long shot.
Absolutely. Incredible impacts on your site. But the fact that you guys have come up with a repeatable design here that's effective and efficient and easy to replicate, this is something that could end up on every site over at MetroCan and make a really big impact. And I really want to thank you for taking a little bit of time to chat with me about it today. And I wish you guys luck on closing that project out.
Thank you very much. And we appreciate the time, and hoping we can, pass this strategy along to other sites so that they too can benefit from the design that we came up with. So
thanks again, Peter. I appreciate you taking a little bit of time to talk to me. To those out there that want to know a little bit more about this innovation, reach out to me directly at tdbb@jvdriver.com, and we can fill in any gaps and hopefully get this innovation going on your site. To everybody else, keep thinking different.